concern the fire department has during this burning season is that with the high price of oil, that we feel more than likely people will be using alternative sources of heating in their houses that they haven't used in a while, like maybe their chimney or maybe their fireplace or a wood stove they haven't used in a while, and we're just concerned that people should get them.
I'm hearing there's no sound.
All right, should be on now.
Okay.
Chat back and see.
Okay.
Is that all good now? Yeah,
we're
yeah,
good now.
Yep. So many mute buttons here. Plus, we weren't really sure how Mr. Dunn was going to start off. He can sometimes be a little bit profane, so we had to make sure we read him the riot act. But I'm sorry. So go ahead. So as far as safety and wood stoves, should we start off with the alarms? Should we start off with inspections? What do you want to start off with? What do you usually?
Well, like I said, we're concerned. Unless somebody heard me the first time.
They probably didn't, so we'll just repeat it.
We're concerned this winter season, because of the high price of oil, that people may start using a fireplace or a wood stove in their house that they haven't used in a while.
Right.
So the most important thing about that is to make sure your chimney's cleaned. Because if not, you can have a chimney fire. If your liner in your chimney's has been cracked or is not intact, or you don't have a liner, it could cause your house to catch on fire. So we're concerned of people making sure they have their stoves cleaned out, and the pipes going into like their chimneys, if they have a wood stove going into a chimney, that the pipes are cleaned out and that the chimneys are clean. And that you have working smoke detectors and carbon monoxide detectors in your house.
Excellent.
All right. So I'm one of those people looking into a wood stove to attach to my fireplace or chimney.
Like an insert kind of thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So looking to get my chimney clean, are there certifications that we should be looking for
No,
a chimney cleaner?
I don't believe there's any certifications. There's no certifications from the state.
Okay.
And there's a couple of guys around. There's a guy in Southbridge, and you actually go to your phone book and find somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Or ask a neighbor and see what
Phone book.
used. Phone book. That's
Phone
it.
book.
Go to your
It
local.
just kind of gives you a little perspective here, that's all.
Maybe
How long have you worked in this field?
24 years. We just have the phone book. Or you can go to Google.
There you go. The Google.
The Google
Dad
machine
says
will
that.
get you to
that interweb. So
chimney sweep.
they have cleaning units that you can buy for yourself. I know they're not cheap. Do you know anything about those? Do you recommend those? I mean,
Yeah, if you can buy brushes yourself and you can clean it yourself.
Yep.
I mean, it's your chimney. I mean, if you go up there and look down it, and there's a bunch of stuff hanging off the sides, then you didn't do a good job. But
There you go.
if you're diligent and get up there with the chimney brush, you can clean it yourself.
excellent.
And the pipe going into the chimney, you should disconnect it and make sure. We had a chimney fire already
Mhm.
this year where the pipe that went from the stove, into the chimney was stuffed full of ashes.
Oh, wow. How many chimney fires do you think? I mean, not necessarily we see around here, but does the state? I mean, how often does it happen? I guess.
Chimney fires, they're common areas like where we live, where people are more likely to be burning wood.
Right.
They happen. It's a common occurrence in the winter. We get calls for chimney fires.
Does it matter what wood you burn?
Now if you burn green wood, obviously you're going to get more chimney fires. So you should have seasoned wood, or wood you think is seasoned, because somebody might sell you something that might not really be seasoned.
Oh, they wouldn't do that, would they?
No.
No, nobody does.
Split it
that.
with an axe. See what it's like.
Yeah, there you go.
So, and it doesn't matter what kind of wood you burn? I always thought that oak and maple and birch.
Right. The
were
harder woods
cleaner
are better,
burning.
and you don't want to burn pine, because pine will just line your chimney with creosote.
There you go.
Pine's good for a campfire outside.
What's your
Cooking fire, I mean.
Yeah, outside around the tent or the old bonfire in the backyard thing. The as far as those additives that you throw on the fire to try to get rid of the creosote, what's your opinion on that success rate?
Additives, I don't know. I think that
They've got the the wood,
Right.
like the blocks that you can burn, or the powder that you can throw in. It's supposed to.
Right.
I guess it's
think
supposed to
that-
heat enough to.
I
Get
don't
the,
know.
I don't know.
I think nothing works better than, if you call a chimney guy, he's not going to use that. He's going to use brushes.
Right.
So that's the best way to make sure that it's properly done.
Okay. And that's a once a year thing?
I'd say once a year, yeah. I mean, if you're burning throughout the whole year, probably do it more than once, but people usually only burn in the winter.
Yeah.
Okay. And I did get a question via text asking if pellet stoves burn cleaner. Do you still do annual chimney cleaning for pellets?
I have a pellet stove. When you call the pellet guy, once a year they come and they clean out my pellet stove and they clean out the pipe. That's just once a year, because it doesn't create,
Yeah.
it burns cleaner than wood does. So
Okay.
once a year they come and clean up. Once a year, if you have a pellet stove, is enough to have them clean your stove, and they'll clean out the pipe.
Excellent. So what's new in the fire department in Brimfield? I heard they got a new truck. Relatively new.
Well, we got a new truck in July.
Yep. How's that working out?
It's working out great. It's a good truck. Replaced three other trucks. Replaced our rescue, our second engine, and our like forestry / car accident truck we had. So now it's a rescue pumper. It has all of our tools to extrication for car accidents. So it rolls out the car accidents, and it's the second due truck for a structure fire. And like I said, it replaced 3 trucks.
Wow.
And an interesting story, one of our trucks was bought by a TV show that's called Fire Country, that's on, I don't know, I think it's on CBS. I don't know what day of the week it's on, but they bought our truck and they turned it into, it's a TV show about Cal Fire.
Mm-hmm.
And our truck was a 4-wheel drive, and it was kind of like something that Cal Fire would have. So they bought it off
Wow.
the town to have it in the TV show. And actually, we got good money for it. I think we paid like $180,000 for it in 2001, and the TV company paid us $64,900 for the truck. So the town got
Wow.
Nice.
almost $65,000 back on the truck.
Did they?
So 1/3.
Did you guys all interview for spots on the show? I mean, that's the
No.
important thing, right? Isn't
Yeah.
it?
They sent us pictures
Did
of.
they grab you?
No. Too far away. They came here and they trucked the. They transported the truck to Vancouver, British Columbia.
Oh, yeah, it's a little bit of a
So
hike to.
they didn't really want to be an extra.
Yeah,
For that
yeah.
part.
You guys are probably a little bit needy, anyways. You know,
Yeah.
get up there and need your own camper and.
But they sent us pictures of it.
Your entourage.
Right. They sent pictures of
no
it.
green
like-
M&Ms.
Yeah.
Right.
All right. They sent pictures of it all done up as Cal Fire now instead of Brimfield Fire.
Oh, very
it's
cool.
Interesting.
Nice.
That is a-
Yeah.
that is
So if you watch that show, you might see Brimfield Engine
Now I'm
2.
gonna have to
So
look for it.
on Tuesday night trainings, do you watch that and I'll
No.
cheer when you see the
Woo!
see your old truck?
No, I've never watched.
Stop crying. Oh. So I gotta say, we were at the Brimfield Winery at the trunk or treat the other day. And you guys had a nice fire. That was a good fire. Nice and warm. You gotta
Right.
You know how to set 'em.
kudos to you guys know how to set them.
It had it had 200 pallets in the fire.
Wow.
Wow.
Wow. Yeah, it was
They
really
went
fun.
fast. Pallets go fast.
They did. So as far as the codes for new building, everything's hardwired now as far as alarms go. Right? I mean, that's it.
Smoke detectors.
Smoke detectors and CO2 as well.
CO.
I mean CO. I'm sorry. Carbon monoxide.
Carbon monoxide,
detectors.
not
Yep.
carbon dioxide.
Yeah.
Carbon dioxide you get when you breathe out.
Carbon dioxide. A funny
Aren't you a
story.
doctor
This
or
is an
something?
aside. This is like there's a shortage of carbon dioxide right now.
Is there?
Yeah, because
Yeah.
apparently where they get it from is tainted or something like that. There's a big demand, and you can't get medical grade or even commercial grade.
Yeah. A
carbon
lot
di-
of breweries are concerned about that.
Yeah, the smaller ones are.
Okay.
Yeah, the ones that have their own taps, the tap rooms, the small tap rooms that don't have a contract, from what I understood. But all the surgery, laparoscopic surgery, things like that, you need CO2.
No, I did not know.
And we're getting warnings that we might not be able to get it.
Wow.
Yeah, until the end of the year. So anyhow, but the carbon monoxide, which is the one that makes you go cherry red and die, those are they hard? Do they have to be hardwired? I didn't hear what your answer was.
They're not.
They-
Now they do, yes.
They do
in
now.
a house built
With the new ones.
from I think it's 2008 on that has to have hardwired carbon
Really?
dioxide. But before that, they could be plug-in or battery powered. But now they have to be hardwired.
Okay, excellent.
But I know in a new house everything's hard. Any house built after 1975 has hardwired smoke detectors. So that's when the building code started, and that's when they started.
Okay.
That's when they started hardwired smoke detectors. When the building code started, and the building code started in '75. Any house built before '75,
Mhm.
if it hasn't been upgraded or remodeled or had something added to it, can have battery powered smoke detectors.
Good. That's
Like
good.
my house has battery powered.
Yeah, mine-
My house
yeah.
was built in 1850. This
Right.
house, Mr. Doyle's house, I'm sure has battery powered smoke detectors. Unless
No,
Don
we have
puts
it
them.
hardwired.
Oh, really? Maybe.
Oh,
Yeah.
So Don must have put those in
Yeah.
at some point.
Yeah, he didn't.
No.
I took them all down.
There you go.
That's the biggest thing people do. They take them down. Like I was in a house today inspecting an oil burner, and the detector in the cellar was not there. It was a hardwired system, so if the cellar, it was a CO, it should be a CO smoke combo, so it wasn't there. So that I mentioned it to the homeowner, but obviously we can't make them do anything. We can just tell you, hey, you're missing your smoke detector. Maybe you ought to put it back up.
Wow. I was just kidding about taking them down. I would never do that.
For the record.
For the record.
Just note that.
Okay.
No, please, no letters.
Yeah. Yeah. So I've got a concern because I always know that I'm supposed to change batteries in my smoke detectors every time you change the time.
Yeah. What's gonna happen when they stop changing them?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Has there been any discussion in the fire circles about what your new motto is going to be?
Change it on your birthday.
Oh, there you go.
Then have a kid or a spouse that's 6 months away from your birthday.
Happy birthday.
So birthday.
Change your detectors.
There you go. Yeah. You need something. You need
I
something
know.
around. We can get a code red. Maybe we can get a
Yeah.
Code red update.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On the day that used to be daylight savings times.
Yeah. I'd suggest Christmas and 4th of July.
All right.
Tell that to the fire
Yeah.
circles.
Run that up the flagpole.
Yeah.
The fire pole.
The
See
fire
who
pole.
salutes. Do you miss not having a fire pole?
We never had a fire pole in Burnfield.
I used to go down. My dad was a firefighter.
My father was too.
We used to.
I used to go down
I used to
in
love that.
Somerville back in the day.
Yeah, we used to have our Christmas. Santa used to come in through a ladder truck and come in through the window on the top floor, and we'd all get to go down and up and down the poles. It was fun. It was really fun. Well, it was okay. It was fun. You got to be there.
Oh yeah.
It was
no,
great.
I've never got to them.
No.
Yeah.
Feels a missing
I'm
part of
missing
your
out.
life.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
you missed it. You
I
missed it.
became a selectman in Brimfield, and the first thing I wanted to do was go check out the
Fire pole in Brimfield Fire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You didn't have one.
And you didn't have one.
And it wasn't
was
there.
a big disappointment.
Yeah, disappointment.
You
Yeah.
put one right up there if you want.
I could.
The
Yeah.
holes through the floor.
We
and
thought
you'll be
about
all
it.
set.
Yeah.
So anyways, yeah, so this time of year people should be changing the smoke detectors, making sure that batteries are changed in them and making sure you have all your smoke detectors and CO detectors are up, especially if people that start burning stoves and stuff they haven't been using, they could start backing up into the house. And
Yeah, I could say that this year especially.
CO is very important. Like lots of houses we go to don't have working smoke detectors, don't have CO detectors. It's amazing how many places you go to that they don't have them.
Right.
Huh.
Like a couple of years ago somebody died down in Wales because they didn't have any in their house and their stove backed up.
Right.
Wow.
You know, people get a little bit crazy and try to save money, or if they just can't afford the heat, to bring in all sorts of bring the charcoal in and just put it near the doorway, but not in the doorway, and it's devastating what people do sometimes.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
shame, but you hear about it all the time
Right.
on the national news, on the national level. Unfortunately, usually it's the whole family because they go
Yeah.
to bed.
So how many carbon monoxide detectors should there be in a house?
Should be one on every floor, and they should be within 10 feet of all the bedroom doors. So usually in people's houses, all the bedrooms are together, so one outside covers that,
Mm-hmm.
and one on each floor, including the cellar.
Right.
And is that the code?
Yes.
Okay.
Isn't something I just made up.
Hey, it
You never know.
sounded good.
It did
You're a
sound
smart
official.
guy.
I've said it so many times.
It did sound official. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
It comes
I've
to
said it a
streaming
few
out.
times, you know.
No, it's-
Yeah.
I think I need to get another one. Actually, now that I think about it, I mean we have a couple, but
I
we
think
don't
I
have
only
one.
have one.
I don't have enough for the.
See,
To the bedrooms.
you're not covering your whole house.
No, I'm not.
Mm.
No.
All right, we're going to
I-
Home Depot.
You can make every one of you can get a combo detector for all your smoke detectors, make them all into combo.
Right,
smoke
that's what
detectors.
they all are
Really?
now, aren't they?
No, you
A
can
lot
still,
of them are.
You can still buy just regular smoke.
Can you? 'Cause I noticed that when now that you mention it, when I did buy it, the last one, it was a combination one.
And I also heard somewhere that you're supposed to change your detectors every 7 years.
It's every 10. Smoke
Every
detector.
10.
CO is 7 years. Smoke detectors is 10 years. All smoke detectors have a
Did
number.
I throw you a curveball there? You were
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
hesitating.
Yeah.
All smoke detectors have a date on the back of them when you take them down. If they don't have a date on them, then they're definitely too old. But I needed, like I took down some in the house today, they were 2010, so they were 12 years old. So they have to replace them.
And that's because of the sensor. I'm assuming
Yeah.
that the computer sensors
Yeah.
start to deteriorate, I would imagine.
Yeah.
And if you buy if you have battery powered ones in your house, you should buy the 10-year sealed battery. That way, if somebody's selling a house and we inspect it, they have to have 10-year sealed battery smoke detectors for battery powered smoke detectors. If they have them in a house that was built before 75, because that way you can't take the battery out of them. They're good for 10 years, and then you throw them out.
Huh.
So you can't take
Right.
the battery out. You know, like people
Right.
take the batteries out
when
when it's going off because
when supper's getting cooked and stuff.
Right.
Yeah. That was the way the kids came to dinner. They heard that alarm because it's real sensitive, and a little bit of heat goes down the hallway and just it sets it off almost every time you have the oven on. Well, I mean, it's safe, I guess.
That or
No,
someone just doesn't know how to cook.
no, you can go down that road. I'm not going there. Nope. The kids would come running down. I heard food's ready. They'd be shutting the door real fast to get the heat away from it and shut. Oh well. Anyway.
All right.
All right, so we're good.
I think we're good.
Yeah, are there any questions?
Are there any questions from the audience? Feel free
Yeah.
to call in, or
I bet there's a.
I bet there are.
I bet
It's
there is.
crowded out there.
Yeah.
Put them on the spot. That would be awesome.
Oh, there's 5 people watching this. Wow.
Yeah.
It's
Pretty good.
Paul's wife,
You
Mike's
know,
wife.
Your wife.
Nobody from my house. No, my wife's away.
Aw.
Oh,
Hey, you know what?
I
She's probably streaming us wherever she is.
Oh,
'Cause
yeah.
we're alive on that
That's
interweb
right.
thing that you don't know.
Interwebs.
I did hear. I did get a question for real.
Oh, nice.
Asking what brand is recommended. Do you have recommended brands?
Ooh.
No, I don't
You
have.
Who
can't-
sponsors you?
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
there's FireX, there's Kitty, there's all different ones. I mean, usually the same ones you have in your house, you should probably buy the same manufactured ones because sometimes they don't talk to each other if they're interconnected.
Yeah, some of them are pretty cool because they will even the battery operated ones that can be interconnected, right?
No, that's what I have in my house. I have
Yeah.
battery operated ones, but they're interconnected wirelessly.
Yeah. So when one goes off, it just sets them all off.
Right.
You know.
I gotta say I don't even know what kind I have, but when it goes off, it actually will. All of them will say, smoke detected in the kitchen,
Oh right.
and so you know not to run towards the kitchen.
That's high tech.
Yeah,
Nice.
it's really neat.
Well, on those ones, the wireless battery power ones, you can do that too. You can set the location, and then when that location goes off, it'll say that location.
All right.
Yeah, is that all the brands?
No, the wireless. I mean, the interconnected wired ones are like that, and most of them are like that.
Okay.
No, that's
But
pretty.
if it says some of them you can program a location, some of them you can't.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Well, it's great being on you guys' show
No,
tonight.
we appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks
it's
for
it's
very
good
much.
to have
do
a
it again
guest.
some other time.
Maybe
Now you guys don't have to talk to each other.
Every
Now you have to go
six-
to some people.
every 6
Well,
months
thanks a
we're
lot.
having you.
All
on.
right.
We do appreciate it, actually.
You're welcome.
Thank you, sir.
Have a good night.
All right. Thanks.
Thanks for keeping us safe.
Try my best.
And
All right. Well, we're moving things around a little bit. I'm going to put the mic off for a second.
You gotta give me a gift.
you can stay here if you want.
I don't want
And watch.
No, you don't
Anything
want.
else out?
You don't want to. That's all right.
Thanks, kids.
All right. We'll see
Get
ya.
out of here. Push it.
Yeah. Just hey, if you can walk on water, you can go straight.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see.
Okay, thank
All right.
you.
I think we're back on.
Yes.
Good. Nice. So we're playing with a little bit of new machinery here too. So please be patient. But try to get a couple different angles, and yeah, it's all right. Not too bad.
Yeah,
Not too bad.
we're gonna have to, point. Which one is live?
I know. I still gotta get somebody here to run this control room here better than I, because I do get a little flustered. But I'm glad. It's kind of fun, actually. So that was good having Mr. Donovan on.
Yeah,
It's always fun.
yeah, and that's it's good pertinent information.
Yep, absolutely. All right. Well, again, we're kind of in between select board meetings. So, did you have anything else you want to talk about tonight?
Yeah, so I did say that there was going to be a discussion about the cemetery, and unfortunately, Mr. Wales was not able to make it.
Right.
But hopefully, that will happen soon. Some of the stuff with the cemetery that I'm interested in is how do you reserve a plot? It's what's involved in that, and and
Right.
that type of thing, as well as when we were on the board, we had, and maybe we can even have a brief discussion on it.
Mm-hmm.
Probably the only time that the select board ever got questions about the cemetery was the maintenance of it. And every now and again we would
Right.
hear from people talking about how they didn't want they were upset because they couldn't have certain things at the headstone.
Right.
And I'm not exactly sure the full mechanism of that, but I know that the cemetery commission meets on a regular basis, and we have 3 commissioners, and they review all of the guidelines and policies, and and basically it's tough for them because they have to maintain it. They've got to mow it, and the more things that they have to move, the harder it is. And
Mm-hmm.
while also understanding that someone's loved one may like butterflies and birds, and you want to do a little display of that.
Right.
And I personally think that they do a very good job at managing those things. And it can be upsetting when you try it and it gets taken down or something like that. But the big thing that I would suggest, instead of going to the selectmen that really don't have any say, the cemetery commission is an elected position,
Right.
which means the select board doesn't oversee them, doesn't really have a whole lot of say. But the cemetery commission is very open to discussions and would help educate as to what you can and can't do and that type of thing.
It does bring up a point on how many things go to the select board that really ought to be dealt with by individual boards that are actually more in charge of those particular things, and the cemetery being one of them, obviously. There's a lot to take care of, and let's face it, these walls, the stone, it's getting older. They're
Right.
talking about the archway that needed to be redone, and those things. It always seems to come up on your watch. You know what I mean? Like, all of a sudden, it starts to deteriorate after 150 years, and it's like, oh, now it's got to be done now before it becomes rubble.
Yeah, I think in the past 5 years and in the next 10 years, we're going to see a lot of things,
Yeah.
deteriorate.
Yeah.
There's been 100 years of deferred maintenance on pretty much everything in town.
Right.
And deferred maintenance only because there's no budget.
Right.
The maintenance that has been done with no budget is nothing short of miraculous.
Right.
But things are getting old now.
Right.
We've got bridges that are 50 years into a 55-year lifespan.
Right.
We've got buildings that are 100 years past
Their lifespan.
past their lifespan.
Right.
Probably 15, 20 years past their lifespan. But I think there's a lot of hard decisions, and we better have a board that really is proactive and will look for grants and earmarks and everything that they can do.
Yeah, I think when you look at the expenses of it too, we were talking about it at the building committee, to have done that project maybe not the first project that the building committee came to town with, but the 12 million, I think that was the second revision, something like that. To do that project now would probably be the 25. Yeah. And so it was, a little bit of time goes by, and the cost of plywood goes from, $8 to $68. It's like ridiculous. It's $65 a sheet right now, I think, in some places. So, when you look at just the cost of building, it's just changed so much. And now interest rates are going to go up. So even if you wanted to get a loan to do these things, it's gonna add up. And so FinCom has got to be really, really proactive in looking at as much as they can as far as these known entities, and it's really important for the Cemetery Commission. And we certainly have, I think, beaten the town buildings up a lot, but they need to be on the forefront so that they just don't get kicked to the back of the discussion, and then all of a sudden they get missed out, and you go another 5 years, and there's a lot more work to fix it.
Yep.
And usually there are people in town that have the skill level to help out quite a bit. And so you just got to be careful how you do that, right? I mean, when you put out a bid, you just got to be careful for the value of the bid and who gets it, how many people get to put a bid in, and how you choose that person, because it's got to be above board as much as you want
Yes.
to have somebody that we know get it done and get it done maybe on the cheap.
Right. Right. So going back to the buildings and being smart and stuff like that, I guess that's probably a good segue.
Oh yeah,
Hey, see?
there you go, you did it. Is that what you want right there?
Yeah, that's it.
All right, I'm gonna go
So
there
at
now.
the last meeting, I noticed that this is some good photography work from myself, if I do say so myself. The $26,000 plus or minus that was earmarked for, or was bid out to put crash bars and handicapped accessibility on the doors. This was a project that our board had looked at, when we were there. And one of the reasons why it never went forward was because it just exploded in cost. And the reason
Right.
it exploded in cost was because you've got this, this is a perfect example, probably 4-foot wide door. On summer days, you can see right through it. There's cracks everywhere. You can see it's in really bad shape. And, this is the definition of putting lipstick on a pig. You've got a door that obviously has rot, has, structural issues.
Yeah.
And, instead of fixing
Yeah, you
the
can see
door.
right there. There's
Yeah.
a big chunk of.
Yeah, and you can't really see that well, but that dark, the dark area, that's all mold and just where moisture's coming through because it's not sealed.
Right.
All they did was put a really cheap looking crash bar on a historic door, on a door that's 150 years old, without fixing the door.
Right.
If there was an emergency, you could have crashed through that door without the crash bar.
Right.
All you needed was a very small push from a shoulder, and the whole door would have fallen off. So
Yeah. Yeah, I noticed that they put one on the front door of the annex too. I actually noticed Teresa was there during Halloween and she showed me that door. So that was, but again, I don't know how much it cost, but this is part of that 29.
yeah, somewhere between 26 and 30.
Yeah, somewhere around 29,000 to make some security upgrades is what it was coming down as.
No, that was a different. This
I thought
was
this is
just
part of the security.
doors, locks, and accessibility.
Oh.
And I think there was a 22,000.
Oh, I thought they lumped that all together. See, even I get confused.
See, I don't know. Yeah,
I
me
get
too.
confused because they went back and forth. I know they raised it a little bit, and they had, but I thought they were dealing with all of it at one time. So,
Yeah.
but anyway, but it makes you kind of feel good that you can get out. I guess it was sometimes hard to open and close.
It's still going to be because they didn't fix the structure of it.
Right.
And
Yeah, it's an old door.
I also have to just wonder, when we tried to do anything in the Great Hall,
Mm-hmm.
we got major pushback from the from historical.
Right.
They didn't want to do anything that could be detrimental to the aesthetics of the Great Hall.
Right.
Even looking at curtains,
Right.
they wanted to make sure that it would have been shades or something from the
From
1800s.
that time, from the contemporary time. Yeah. No, I do remember that. I think the curtains alone, when we talked about just in the summertime to get some of that sun off of that glare, I mean,
Yeah.
the curtains were ridiculously expensive. If you wanted to do, again, period, with the thick, heavy, basically sun blocking. I mean, and how tall is that? I mean, it would have been
Those were 25
feet,
Yeah.
20 feet. And so it was like tens of thousands of dollars to do those. I remember it was crazy.
Yeah. So it got done and it's better, but it's not a completed project, and it's not to have a 2-foot wide door as your egress in an emergency.
Right.
You know, what really needed to happen was they needed to redo that door, rebuild that door as a single door that
Right.
could have been open.
That
so
whipped
that
open.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I have no idea what that would have cost too. But yeah, I mean, I agree. Having one side open and not the other just doesn't make a lot. It's certainly not ADA compliant. It might fulfill some benefit, but it wasn't. I don't know. Honestly, whoever put it in should have said something.
Yeah.
To be honest.
Yep.
But
So.
what else we got? I know we. I will say that just personal experience. There just seems to be a little bit of a kick in COVID. I mean, I'm hearing a lot more people with COVID lately. Not necessarily sick, but some people kind of hit a little bit. But we are hearing more and more of just like people just, it's out there again. I think it's just not as critical, I don't think, as far as how people are getting,
Yeah.
how sick they're getting. But
Well, what I've heard, and maybe you know more about it, is this RSV is really starting to
right.
be a scary thing.
Right. Yeah. So the respiratory syncytial virus, it's mostly affect kids, and they the thought is that they've not been exposed to other kids, so they never got a little bit of autoimmunity by kind of like having that little bit of exposure over time, and so they're getting exposed to something that might be a mutant compared to what they may have had in that little exposure that they had over COVID, and so all of a sudden that's coming through, and so now they're calling it the triple whammy with the with RSV and the flu and then COVID kind of hitting all at the same time. So
Yeah, and
yeah,
it's
very sad.
Yeah, it's scary. It's sad. It looks like I saw somewhere, and I might have been speaking with the health inspector about it, that they're having to ship people out of, these hospitals with RSV in particular, because they're just too overcrowded right now.
Yeah,
And they have to go further away
interesting.
to get beds.
I saw it on the national news. A lot of the pediatric hospitals are definitely just overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And so that's even worse. Just watching kids get sick. But
Yeah. And I'm not going to spoil anything, and I really don't know a lot about it. So, but I did hear that we are working on getting another booster clinic set up in this area.
all right. Yeah, Jamie, I have to say the health agent. Most people, if you're lucky, I guess you probably don't know who she is because she didn't have to call you. But she was an integral part of the COVID. The pandemic response team in this town, and she and Eva really they just organized and they helped out the seniors. They just did an outstanding job with the seniors. They organized food pickup, they organized prescription pickup and delivery, and just to keep as many people safe as they could. If they heard about somebody, man, that telephone line went through, and they were out there giving out food or just giving rides to somebody or whatnot. And they just did an outstanding job, and I can't say enough about it.
And that hasn't stopped.
No, right, it really hasn't. No, I know. I mean, it may have. I agree. Most people kind of took a big, deep sigh and kind of went a little bit back to normal life, but life really is never going to be the same normal that it used to be. That's for sure. Right. I don't think so. Anyways.
And if any senior needs help to this day, Eva is on it.
Yeah, 100%.
You got questions, you can call up Jamie. You can get any questions you want resolved. They have been working for this town nonstop. Along with many other.
Sure.
So we're not. I guess we are singling them out.
We are. I mean, because what? We can do that, and I think we have the opportunity to, so we might as well. I mean, this isn't a everybody gets a medal. 6-year-old soccer thing. These people went way above and beyond, and I know because I talked with the health agent about every day during the pandemic, and she always took my calls or got back to me, and she was on the phone at meetings. Day and night. It's amazing how many state meetings they had. And then she's got to get that message across to everybody else. So she did a great job.
But not everybody deserves a medal. But I just have to keep going back. In this town, there are very few employees who don't deserve that medal.
I agree. Okay.
You know?
Yeah.
Jim,
Oh, you're gonna
Taking-
throw me under the bus.
that's right.
Okay.
He doesn't think so,
doesn't-
but
no.
I think so.
No.
You know, no, it's amazing. You know,
Mhm.
I just can't say enough about any of these employees. You know, we're highlighting. That's a better word for
Yeah,
it.
there you go.
We're highlighting Eva and Jamie for all the work they did.
Because it was practical and it was integral
Yeah.
to what we were talking about, so that
Yeah.
kind of made sense. But no, you're right. You're right. I mean, when you go back, I mean, you can even keep using the COVID pandemic as a litmus test. Quite honestly, with how people worked in the annex and how they kind of figured out ways to get things done for the residents, and
Oh, yeah.
and how the safety complex and fire chief, police chief, and how they dealt with the things in life that really didn't care whether there was a pandemic, you know, and all of a sudden you got to do it with the idea that there's a pandemic around it, so you needed all the PPE and all that. So it was a lot of work. It was a lot of work, and they all did a stupendous job, in my opinion.
Yep.
What else we got to go? The lunch, I guess it's a brunch. November 18th at 11 o'clock. And we'll make that a little bit bigger. So that's through the senior center. You can read it better than I. It's up there.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. November 18th at 11 a.m. for our annual Giving Thanks dinner.
Excellent. And I think that,
Because of many things.
yeah, because of many things. Life got in the way a little bit. All right. And here's the, you probably want to talk about this kind of
Yeah.
a little bit.
So we had Amanda Day on here last 2 weeks ago.
Yep.
Regarding Wreaths Across America, and we got this brochure talking about the same thing. The important date is the closing date is November 20th. So that's if you want to sponsor a wreath.
Mm-hmm.
I spoke with Amanda today, and there's still about 100 veterans that don't have wreaths.
Okay.
So if anybody wants to contribute, they can contact Amanda at B as in boy, M as in Mike, D as in Delta, A as in Alpha, Y as in, what's the Y? Y, that's the only one. 359 at msn.com. Or Zach at highway@brimfieldma.org.
All right. I'll try to make it up there for a little bit. Make it a little bit bigger. It gets blurry, so I can only get half of it on the screen at a time, unfortunately. But
So yeah, Amanda at BM Day. Well, how about Brimfield Matters Day? BM
there
Day.
you go.
359 at msn.com or highway@brimfieldma.org to sponsor. And so those sponsorship forms are due November 20th, and you can contact them at those addresses to get a contact or to get a form that you can fill out and then submit to highway department by November 20th.
All right. Excellent.
Amanda will also be at the gazebo this weekend
All right.
from 11 to 1. I just want to make sure that's the right times. 11 to 1 on Saturday. And she'll be handing out those forms if anybody wants to. You know, like she said last time, you know, think of it as a relative. You don't want them to go without being recognized for the holidays. We do have 100 veterans in there that are looking for sponsorships.
She should have a good weekend. It's supposed to be a gorgeous weekend, so hopefully you'll be very busy.
Yeah, so come on
around
down to the
Common.
gazebo, walk around the common, and pick up a form. So, and then the other important date that was on that slide was December 17th, and that's at 11:30 a.m. at the Brimfield Cemetery.
Mhm.
That's when the Wreaths Across America Day happens, and the event will take place, and the wreath laying will take place at that point.
Excellent.
So
Very good.
there you have it.
There you have it. Eva wanted us to just remind people about Medicare signups. This is the time of year when insurance, you have to choose plans, whether it's Medicare or some of the other insurances. This is that time of year when everybody's got to do that, unfortunately. So that's going on as well. And I think that was all the advertisements that I saw that I could get. There was a trunk or treat was outstanding. this year. Just a huge crowd. It was very good. I didn't get any feedback on the crumbling foundations, but that was an awareness meeting, and that was last week when we were on the air. And I don't think I've gotten anything else that was new as far as that goes. So I think what we'd like to do now is just kind of remind people that they can get in touch with us through Gmail, through Facebook, or watch us on YouTube and subscribe. And we'll, I think that's pretty much what we had for this week.
That's it.
Short and
any
sweet.
Questions? Any?
Yeah. If people have any questions, they could always write to us. They could text now or chat now.
Hold on.
One
this
come
just
up.
in.
All right.
The Wales Food Pantry really needs donations. At this point, they're serving over 300 people, which takes a lot of donations to keep that going.
Right.
So if anybody can, please donate to the Wales Food Pantry. I believe it's the Tri-Town or Tri-Community. I don't think it's called the Wales.
No, I think it's a
They do.
Tri-Community.
It's not just Wales that are there. Oh, here it is. They serve Brimfield, Holland, and Wales.
Right.
So
Tri-Town.
yeah,
I forget.
Whatever it is, it covers us. If you're interested in just Brimfield, we have residents that use the pantry all the time. Yeah, and it's a great community organization.
Absolutely. All right. What we'd like to remind people is our next episode will be episode 11.
I think this is 12. Not coming up. I
Is
think
it
this
12?
was 11.
Oh, all right. Oh, no, you're right. Yeah, because that's right. I forgot. Yeah. I forgot about it. You know what it was? It's the having the meeting between the select board meetings. That first time kind of got me riled because I had prepared these a little bit in advance. So here it is. Yeah. So it's episode 12, and that's going to be next week. Election day. We didn't even talk about election day.
Oh,
I guess
no.
that was a big deal. So next week is obviously election week, or election day, and so most people have probably put in their absentee ballots or mailed them in. Or I've kind of settled that. I know early voting is still a big thing. Now we're getting closer to the time.
The requests for absentee or mail-in was due, I think, on Monday. And then I believe yesterday was the last day of early voting.
In person?
Early in-person voting.
Okay.
So I think the only way, if you have not received anything, the only way to do it now is to vote on election day.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
All right. Well, all right.
And I guess one point that I did talk to the clerk about was an issue with the mail-in voting. If anybody did it, I guess there were some concerns about it, where they, it's very difficult because there's, some people didn't know that there were questions on the back. So on the ballot, there's on the first page there's everyone that you want to elect, and then on the back side are the questions, and a couple of people mailed it back and wanted to bring it, wanted to come and fill out the questions afterwards, which just isn't allowed.
Yeah,
unfortunately.
you just can't. Yeah, I mean that's just
and there's
too much to let. I mean, there's no way you control that. You just can't do that.
Right. So she was saying that with this mail-in, with all that, it's very good to have, but there are a bunch of questions about it. People at the last election requested the mail-in ballots, sent them in, and then showed up to vote in person, and they weren't sure, why that didn't work.
Right.
So
they did it like at the potential that they wouldn't be able to, and then they ended up going to vote.
Or if it's, I think there's, it's brand new to a lot of people,
right?
And it is something that is just as official as your vote in person,
right?
And it's maybe some people thought it was a questionnaire that wasn't binding.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Okay.
But it is binding. It is, once you send it in, there's no getting it back. If there are people that when you do it, you have to fill in your name, your, whatever contact information. You've got to sign it. If you don't do all those steps, your vote can't be counted.
Right.
And there's no recourse for it. There's no way that, the clerk can call you up, Paul, and say, hey, I just got your mail-in ballot. It's not complete.
Right. Yeah, there's just no way. He can't. There's just too much time. There's
Right.
Too little manpower to get that done.
Right. And it could be used to say,
Right.
It could be nefarious reasons. So so there's no calling. There's no once that mail-in ballot comes back in, whatever it is when they received it is how it has to go in.
Oh, that's good. The other thing, interesting thing, I saw a comment on the national news when they were talking about last week when they had some of these debates. One of the interviews, I can't remember which debate it was, whether it was Philly or Georgia, but Atlanta. They were interviewing somebody, and he just talked to the national reporter. He said, and this is why I don't submit an early vote, because I needed to see what just happened to make my vote, to really make my mind up. And now I made my mind up, and I may not have done that if I hadn't seen this, which I thought was interesting. So there are some restrictions of early voting because you don't see that snowballing of news, and sometimes some exciting news here and there that comes out of the woodwork, and that may or may not have kind of swayed your vote. So I thought that was an interesting perspective on that particular individual.
Yeah, and I guess while we're on it,
Mm-hmm.
the other interesting part with this early voting and the mail-in voting is every town can decide to opt in or opt out on an annual basis.
Right. I remember having that vote.
There's absentee voting, which is always there.
Right.
For those that know you can't make it because you're out of town, you're deployed, you're whatever.
Right.
But the new early voting and early and mail-in.
Right.
Those are two things that every town can opt out of. And it's something that would be good to, have a discussion about, which right there is a red flag with this select board.
Right.
The word discussion.
Right.
But as nice as it is to have, I think there are only like 25 early voters. So we had at least two, probably more like 4 or 5 election staff, part-time employees at the town hall, and town hall had to be open
Right.
for a number of days
Right.
at a cost to the town for 25 voters. And is that worth it? It may be.
Right.
But
it'd be a good discussion, because I think, and was it a once a year you have a ruling? Is that the beginning of the year?
I forget if it's the
before
calendar
our
year
election
or
before the election in town. I can't remember. I can't remember when it happened.
Yeah.
I do remember. I think we were there. Were we on the board? I think we were sitting.
Yes.
So it must be before the election.
Right before
After
the election cycle.
Right. Yeah, it must be. And so I do remember having the discussion, and I do remember the town clerk saying that you were not buying. This isn't a binding thing forever and ever. But I wasn't sure, like, if you did it. But if you did it for one election, you did it for the whole.
Yes,
the
I
whole
think
gamut.
it's a year.
Yeah, I think
a year at a
that's
time.
what it was. And so, and obviously, I think most people inherently want to open up the ability to vote, to everybody under whatever circumstances. But I think the logistics do need to be sorted out a little bit,
Yeah,
and it's fair.
It's worth a discussion. It's worth, I think, having a hearing, having a public hearing, which is different than a public, access,
Right.
because people do get to talk, and
Right.
and the hearing has specific requirements as to letting people know that this is happening.
Mm-hmm.
So at least for the first year, maybe or the next year and the next couple at least, we should have this open and hear somebody come up and say, I didn't get my mail in,
Right.
I couldn't do that for whatever reason. I wanted to vote early, but we didn't have it, so I wasn't allowed to vote.
Right. No, it'd be good to hear the other side, like why it is a little logistical nightmare on times, or like getting people to be there. And this would be a hearing that would be organized by the town clerk. I mean, that is an elected official.
Well,
right?
It is funny because it's the voting for sure is town clerk, but I believe the vote,
the decision to do this,
to do the
was
mail-in.
a select. Yeah,
Yeah.
You're right. I remember exactly that.
It should be, I think, joint.
Right.
But either way, it should be a public,
Right.
a true and open public discussion about it.
Right. Yeah, I think the town clerk ought to take the head on it, and I think ask the select